Good evening, you're watching To The Point. I'm Preeti Chaudhary. 88 Lok Sabha seats have voted, spread across 13 states. What does it look like? Well, for the state of Kerala, it's a wrap. A single-phase election, all 20 seats gone, done and dusted. Where Kerala is concerned, we're going to break it down till 5 p.m. The voter turnout, what does it stand at? Well, Kerala stands at 64%. We're going to go state by state. And what does it actually mean when it comes down to this election? 88 of the Lok Sabha seats are done, viewers. And in phase one, what we had seen were 102 seats, and now add 88 to that. We're going to get you more, but let's quickly cut across right now to our panelists this evening. Joining me, Ranjat Sethi, political commentator; Ashutosh, author, political analyst; Sanjay Kumar, co-director, Lokniti CSDS and psephologist; Rajdeep Sardesai, consulting editor, India Today TV. Sanjay Kumar, till now, 6 p.m. numbers are not out yet by the Election Commission. They're still trying to collate in terms of voter turnout. Better than possibly what was in the first phase, but still not matching up when it comes down to the first phase of election, and the South, as usual, turning out way more than the North.
Preeti, I think these are provisional figures. And I think the big problem when we keep saying that the turnout is low, and we start giving lots and lots of interpretation to that, is that one, the benchmark which we are using all the time is 2019 election. And this is an election which witnessed the highest turnout. National turnout was 68%. If you try and compare it with, 2009 Lok Sabha elections, 2000 Lok Sabha election, it would start looking decent. So the benchmark is very high. And why should we expect that every election will witness? I'm saying that, yes, we should expect, but why a lot of different interpretations should be given? At least I would try and refrain from doing that. The turnout has gone down, and these are the following reasons for the turnout going down. And this may be this may be the expected electoral outcome. So the benchmark is very high. Let's wait for, the turnout figures to come up. Maybe it is a 1 or 2, 3% lower compared to 2019. Doesn't make any difference, or doesn't give any indication pro-incumbency, anti-incumbency, etc.
No, that's true. And Rajdeep, for somebody who's covered quite a few elections, what does it look like to you on ground? You've been in Andhra. The phase one, if you look at voter turnout, was quite abysmal. Phase two, the EC still to release the numbers, but will not stack up anywhere close to 2019. But Sanjay Kumar says it doesn't quite matter, means absolutely nothing.
Well, look, I have always been reluctant also to look at turnout as an indication of which way the wind is blowing. I think we've seen elections where voter turnout has been low and the incumbent has won, and vice versa. So I am reluctant to go into this voter turnout leading to decisions on who is winning and who is losing. But Preeti, what is very clear, and I think Sanjay Kumar's answer said it all, 2019 was an election where the voter was charged up. That enthused voter is clearly missing. I use the word thakavat. There's a sense of fatigue. I keep repeating, the last 5 years have been tough on most Indians. Sitting in Noida studios, we won't understand agrarian distress. Sitting in Noida studios, we won't understand how people grappled with COVID and lockdown in many parts of the country. How micro and small enterprises have struggled. So I think there is a voter who has a sense of fatigue and is not enthused by any side at the moment. And therefore, perhaps in some parts, added to the heat, is not going to the polling booth with the same energy and frenzy that he or she did in 2014 and certainly in 2019. To that extent, you could argue this is much more of a normal Indian election. The turnout figures are generally around what they used to be, 60% in North India, there'll be 70% and plus in Eastern India, and they'll be in that mid-60s range in Southern India. We are witnessing a normal election. And because we are witnessing a normal election, we are trying to deduce from that who's winning and who's losing. I'm not going down that road. All I will say is I don't see a charged up, frenzied voter at the moment on all my travels across the country.
Well, and I would concur. And one thing that Sanjay ji yesterday on the show did say is, at least one thing he will confirm, there's no wave. Whatever side, there is no wave. Sanjay ji, you still stick to that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's no way. What Rajdeep has mentioned, the interest in election is slightly less. And 2019 was a very, very charged election. This is not a charged election.
All right, so this is not a charged election. I'm also going to cut across to our election intelligence dashboard to get a basic perspective on how the North is voting vis-a-vis the South and what it could actually mean, if there are any inferences at all. But Rajat Sethi, if this is a normal election, then most normal elections turn to local issues, seat-by-seat election. That's not something which possibly the BJP would want.
Preeti ji, normal elections also mean that whosoever has better organizational strength tends to do better. The party which has cadre base, which has the base to pull out voters on the day of the polling, tends to win. When you use that metric, there is only one party which can at least claim that it has a pan-India aggressive ground cadre strength to actually pull out the voters and ensure that they reach the polling booth. So from that perspective, I would say that it is advantage BJP. However, I do agree that yes, at least as of now, these numbers are very, very provisional, let me tell you, because the polling timing has also increased in this phase. It was till 5 p.m. In the first phase, has gone up till 6 p.m. And plus, people are still in the queue. I'm also receiving reports that, wherever you enter into the queue and the polling is being delayed for one reason or the other, the polling is still continuing. So you will see this number go up. But however, the big picture, big takeaway is that from phase one, things have at least heated up a little bit. Phase two, we are seeing greater polling. And I hope that in the interest of democracy, we will see greater polling in the coming phases as well.
But, but I'll tell you what, because the number is also camouflaging a bit. Yes, it's gone up since phase one, and we can see that in the cumulative figure that is coming in, at least the number that is coming in till... if you're looking at the number that is coming in till 5 p.m. So, but having said that, if we just break it down, and Ashutosh, I want to bring you in on that, because if you look at the state of Uttar Pradesh, and I'll come back to the state of Rajasthan as well, Uttar Pradesh is quite abysmal, because if you look at the turnout, Uttar Pradesh stands at... and there the number comes in 53% till 5 p.m. and only it's seemingly coming in from 2 or 3 states, because let's look at the state of Meerut, the constituency of Meerut, where it is standing at a 55%, which was 64% the last time around in 2019. Mathura, it's 47%. Would you think it's a tad bit worrying in terms of the voter percentage where North is concerned? Because Kerala and Karnataka doing way better than at least these numbers.
See, I think, Preeti, the two things which has to be understood that the Prime Minister Narendra Modi has tried to emotionalize voters from the day one itself. And if because of him, if there is no emotional question with the voters and voters are not enthused about going to the polls and voting, does it tell a story? I think it does tell a story, because in Madhya Pradesh, if you look at the figures, in 2019, the percentage was 71.2. This time it is still 54%. This can go to another 2-3%. Rajasthan, 66 last time. This time is 59. It can go to 63. Maharashtra, the trouble state for the BJP, 61 last time and 53.51. This time, second phase I'm talking about. So the issue is why the voters are not going to the polls and polling and voting. That has to be understood. So is it because that the voters are there is a fatigue among the voters, or the voters are not enthused by the emotional appeals of the Prime Minister on the communal lines? On the communal lines, this is something which started from the day one. So if that is not happening, it is a worrisome for the opposition as well as the government both.
Right. But Ashutosh, the voting percentage in phase one had already dropped before any speech of the Prime Minister. But having said that, Rajdeep, you wanted to make,
Preeti, just 10 seconds. The Prime Minister attacked on the Congress manifesto, calling it a Muslim League's manifesto, which is a very strong statement, very strong statement. And that happened before the first phase of polling. So I am
No, no,
only saying is
I'm talking about the
sometimes
two
the
speeches he made in
sometimes the
Rajasthan. But fine.
cadre-less party
All right.
also
I just want to
suffers
bring in.
because
Okay,
of the
I'll come back to you, Ashutosh.
dissatisfaction
Allow
among
me.
the
I
party.
want to bring in Sanjay Kumar and Rajdeep back into this conversation. Rajdeep, you want to make a point. Do you concur with what Rajat Sethi said? Because there's a fair point in that when it's a regular election, it depends on the cadre who have been able to pull out their voters to the booth. The BJP clearly better at that than the Gadbandhan.
Absolutely. And I think that really is something that you will see on the 4th of June. My belief is, especially in areas where the BJP is strong, and the strongholds are, we've seen in 2 consecutive elections, North, Central, and Western India, where they've picked up more than 80% of the seats. And a large reason of it was the organization on the ground, the Shakti Kendras, the booth committees, and you've gone down this time even beyond Panna Pramukhs to Panna level committees. So I think the BJP has that advantage. A, they have the resources. Let's not underestimate the size and scale of resources that they have. It's not just organization in terms of feet on the ground, it's also resources on the ground. The other parties are, in particularly the main other national party, Congress, at one level simply doesn't have that those resources at the moment. Therefore, I feel where it is regional party versus BJP, you will see a stronger fight. Even in a state like Karnataka or Kerala, where the Congress has strong local organizations, good, strong booth level management, the BJP will find itself in a fight. I think the real problem for the opposition, and it has been there, we've known this for a while, is in states like Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar. Can they, especially in seats where the Congress is there, be able to match up to the BJP's resources and organization? Can the Samajwadi Party and the RJD in UP and Bihar pull up their socks? As of now, we don't know. So I sense, because of the lower numbers, I tend to agree that the party with the better cadres, with the better organization, is able to draw in voters to the booths. I haven't seen that same booth level effort going on when it comes to Congress, especially in a state like Maharashtra, where once the Congress used to have a strong network. However, the Shiv Sena, on the other hand, seems to be fighting it seat by seat. So you will find actually the BJP might lose out where some of its allies aren't really seen to be credible enough. Then whether that is JDS in Karnataka, whether it is the Shinde Shiv Sena in Maharashtra, or dare I say the JDU in Bihar, those are the where you might see the BJP suffering a bit. So there are huge regional variations at the moment, and I think we tend to need to take that into account. Is this a general election? This is not a state-specific election.
Well, it's not a state-specific election, but Sanjay, Ji, I'm going to get you back into this conversation. If it's a regular election, there is no, plausible wave on ground. Does it then become a seat-by-seat election where clearly what we are witnessing on ground, local issues are coming, to the fore more? Of course, the BJP has more bench strength to take its cadre and, get the voters to the booths. But having said that, does it somewhere down the line give an advantage to the opposition as well to localize, hyper-localize each seat?
There is no doubt, Preeti, that if the election becomes localized, as localized the election becomes, it gives advantage to the Congress and the regional party, what we keep referring as India Alliance. And that is why I do get a sense, maybe that's what is happening, or that is what has started happening. And that is why BJP has come up with a larger narrative. And the larger narrative is about, minority versus majority. So all these larger narratives, or the bigger narrative, national narratives, are being thrown up on the voters, just to drag the attention of the voters that these are the big concerns. Yes, price rise, unemployment are the concerns. Those are on the ground. But don't forget, these are the bigger concerns. Be careful. So that seems to be happening. I don't have a clear evidence, but I think, yes, localize the election, advantage India Alliance. As the election becomes more and more national, it goes to the advantage of BJP. And that we have seen, even in the state assembly election, why at times BJP want to play up with the national issues, and they just want to subdue or play, minimize the state issues. So yes, to some extent, Preeti, what you mentioned is right. That's what seems to be happening.
And don't forget, Preeti, Preeti, the BJP has dropped more than a third of its MPs. I think at last count, about around 112 sitting MPs of the BJP have been dropped. That is out of around 303 at the outset. Then it came down to 291 that they had by the time Lok Sabha concluded. But 112 12 have been dropped. And the reason for that is local level anti-incumbency. Look, there is also the Modi factor. We keep saying localize, localize, but Mr. Modi is, whether one likes it or not, the tallest leader as in the eyes of the public. So that leadership question is there. Even within local issues, people grumble about local issues, lack of water, agrarian distress. But when it comes to the key, they still do mention Prime Minister Modi. There's a high recall value and a positive recall value by and large for Prime Minister Modi.
Taking final comments both from Rajat Sethi as well as Ashutosh. Ashutosh, ultimately, do you think it's going to come down in one simple line? What really works? Is the Modi factor bigger than local issues, or will local issues trump over the Modi factor?
See, Preeti, by its own logic, if election is hyper-localized, that means people are not enthused by the Modi's charisma. It's as simple. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been a localized elections. So either it is a localized election or it's a national election. If a national election, people are going to the polls and saying, irrespective of who is the candidate, I'm not bothered. I'm going to elect Prime Minister Modi, and I'm enthused about him because he has done good work. But if it is localized election, that means people are going to elect the MPs. And depending upon what kind of MP they want to elect, whether the Congress MP or the BJP MP, that means Mr. Modi's factor is not working. So both the logic cannot go together. Either it is hyper-localized or it is not localized. If localized, no Modi factor.
Rajat Sethi, you want to weigh in on that?
Clearly, the two options that Ashutosh ji has laid, the answer is the latter. It's not a localized election. It is a national election at the end of the day. And I think BJP has picked up the campaign quite aggressively, and they're showing the contrast. Now see what Prime Minister consistently has been doing for the past 10 odd days. He's consistently drawing in the contrast that, see, on one side, this is the Congress party, and the other side, this is BJP. This is where you will see 5 prime ministers in 5 years, and you will see India's global position plummeting because of all the mockery that is going to unleash in a Congress rule. So he's trying to bring those stark examples between what a Congress regime would look like and what a BJP regime. See, another last point that I wanted to mention, that it's been good 10 years since people, remembered UPA days and like how policy paralysis actually stalled the government. So what BJP's strategy right now is, in order to make it a national enough without a black swan event, is to actually keep people reminding the people that this is the stark contrast between UPA.
Right now, it's not so much into going back, but looking at the manifesto, which is prevailing in terms of the narrative.
Look at Prime Minister's tweets, Preeti. He's retweeting all the old malgovernance.
That's a jibe at Ashutosh, I think. Ashutosh, that's a direct jibe at you.
See, his video was tweeted.
So that proves that Ashutosh is criticizing Modi. He has also criticized Manmohan Singh. That establishes my objectivity.
Exactly. But
you've been retweeted by the Prime Minister, Ashutosh. To give our viewers context.
So the BJP...
Ashutosh coming in as a critic of the Prime Minister was retweeted by the Prime Minister when Ashutosh was a journalist a few years ago, critiquing the UPA years. With that, it's a wrap, but we're going to keep the focus on the numbers still not in where voter turnout is concerned, being assimilated. What does that really mean? Right now, everyone's clutching at straws, either sides of the divide. If it's high, if it's low, we're going to tell you on how to interpret it. Do stay tuned to India Today.